Okay, there's empirical evidence that by changing these, the electrical environment in people's homes or in people's schools, where kids go to school and things like that, a lot of these health situations have subsided. There's documented proof and or empirical evidence that says that there were, for example, one school, 37 people had asthma. That's kids and adults. 30 days after the filters were put in, 37 kids no longer had asthma or were on inhalers. 2 years later, they still have the same situation when nobody's taking inhalers, nobody's on, has asthma, being treated for it. People with MS, Dr. Hobbs from Trent University is doing a lot of research with MS patients. Astounding results.
I think one of the most dramatic ones was a young boy, young man, who's 27 years old. He has primary progressive multiple sclerosis, which means that his symptoms are likely to get progressively worse. They're not going to relapse and suddenly he'll be fine. We put filters in his home, and I was told that 4 days later he stopped using a cane. He also walked with a cane or did wall walking in the house. 4 days later he stopped using his cane, and I contacted him after about a week, and he told me that his symptoms were basically disappearing. His body wasn't shaking anymore, and I asked if I could videotape him because I hadn't videotaped the first woman before and after. So I went to videotape him, and I had videotaped him before, and I went, and when I went there, I arrived, he was outside shoveling the snow. Now, and he was using a real shovel rather than a snowblower. And the reason this is so amazing is when I first interviewed him, I talked to his mother, and she said that she tried to, encourage him to do things around the house to keep his muscle mass up. And in the summer, he would try to mow the lawn. But even with an electric lawnmower, he simply couldn't do it because he got too tired. It was just too much energy for him trying to walk, even if he was holding on to a lawnmower. And now he was shoveling the snow outside. When I videotaped him, the difference between the before and after was so dramatic that in the after, within 2 weeks, you couldn't tell he had MS at all. He can now go out. Unfortunately, if he goes to a dirty environment, his body will respond again. He also told me that he went shopping with his father within the first week and a half. And they went to a large box store. He didn't take his cane with him because he hadn't needed it for a week up to that point. And he was in the box store for about an hour. And then he said his body began to respond the way it normally did with MS, and he could barely walk to the car. His father had to help him to the car. So he now knows that if he's in a dirty environment, his body's going to respond with severe MS symptoms. But if he then goes to a clean environment, eventually those symptoms will dissipate. And now he can go back to work provided he continues work in a clean environment.